And welcome back to a very ancient episode of The Careful Boys, where today we're going to talk about these recent discoveries and findings of the pyramids.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Which one? Which pyramids?
How'd you know I was going to say that?
Because that's recently what they just found, that there's these shock absorbers.
I literally just said recently discovered, and I said ancient. That's
What kind? What kind
I
of?
knew you were talking about.
They have shock absorbers?
Did you hear about that? So, at first we thought it was just these dope pyramids that we already still don't know how they built them. And then now they realize there's fucking what was it, 10 stories or whatever?
2 kilometers or some shit.
Worth of shock absorbers underneath. So the pyramids are literally the tip of the
Shock absorbers is a specific potential concept, but think of 8 cylindrical, long tube type structures.
Bilstein shock.
And then they also have spiraling, potentially staircase coils. Yeah, that go down, and then from there they're on top of 2 80 by 80 meter
all-terrain tires.
Box structures. So it's the literal concept of what the pyramids. We thought these structures were they may be the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Oh,
You heard
literal there's way more. Oh shit!
You heard that it was supposed to be a power plant?
I did hear that.
Yeah.
That's what they said. This further push reinforces that theory.
Wow.
For aliens, power plant for aliens.
No.
Not necessarily for aliens, but it definitely reinforces the idea that there was a much more advanced civilization that did this. Because
they said that it's not a tomb.
Because that's what they thought it was, like catacombs, right?
They're for one, why is there no beautiful artwork? Because they're every tomb has.
Yeah.
So they think it's a temple or something?
No, it's a power plant.
Power plant.
Well, in the
Sustainable,
beginning,
unlimited
they thought it
energy.
was-
Nikola Tesla type.
Do you think they harness the power of the cosmos,
I don't know what that is, dude.
like the stars, solar? Because they used to be covered in gold, right?
No, it used to be covered in white,
Limestone?
yeah, limestone.
Yeah.
So
It used
reflected.
water. It used water.
So back
Vibrations
then,
of water.
they said that it was built on is it called an aquifer or when it's an underground river?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a water source that goes underneath it.
From the Nile itself.
And then so they're
And then
saying
they would create these giant space areas within it that when the water would create sound vibrations, it would mold it to a certain frequency so that it would be able to rhythmically produce a certain type of energy that would be converted through the stone the granite, the limestone, things that were brought in from hundreds of miles away type shit, and then it would turn it into
A Daft Punk song.
Yes, that was somehow connected to this invisible electromagnetic energy that would be able to produce unlimited energy, sustainable, reusable.
Did they use it for light bulbs? What did they use it for?
Who knows?
That's the thing.
watch it just be porn. You know how
It just boiled down.
aliens found what humans? Oh my god, they came up with all this technology, and then they go, 40% of the hard drive was porn.
Dude, imagine it's just a huge record player. It's we get loud music from these.
They've been having massives.
Yeah, EDC, dude. It was all for EDC.
It's as simple as the idea of when you're it's I don't know if it's the potato with a light bulb in it, or when you touch something with some sort of electromagnetic energy and then it passes through your body. Yeah. It's if the earth is one large living organism, so to speak, then it's same thing, energy can be passed through the right proper frequency or
Because the Earth has an electromagnetic field.
exactly. So imagine if everything here just can be powered. So maybe they did have this ancient civilization did have a version of electricity.
Just to power vibrators.
Bunch of Sibians. Egyptian Sibians.
Sibians.
All these friggin' chicks are sitting on this thing. Fucking Patrick's sitting on this fucking mysterious black thing. What is this?
What is this little thing?
Palma horse she's sitting on. What is that?
Yeah, who knows?
What I'm wondering is why did the technology just disappear? Because it's the Egyptians been there.
Do you guys believe in the theory where the way that it's taught in school, it's humans I think been around 40,000 years or whatever, and it's this chronological time, where there's this other theory, I forgot his name was fucking Graham Simon
Hancock?
or some shit, or Hancock, where he's talking about how civilization has started and ended many, many times already, so it's not actually this chronological thing. It's what we're finding that we think predates this has actually probably risen and fallen, and then has many other civilizations stacked on top of it. So we kind of have to like.
That's what we went to go in Mexico City. We went to go see the temple, the temples, the Kwan or something like that.
Tenochtitlan.
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 And my whole thing was like, when we got there, there's just giant pyramids everywhere, right? You go there and you're like, oh, these are the Aztecs. They're like, not the Aztecs, not the Mayans. These motherfuckers were way before.
Whoa. Are they Olmecs?
I think they don't have a particular name for them except the Teotihuacans or something. I'm butchering it, so I'm sorry. But their civilization had rose all the way up, fallen completely, and then the Mayans and the Aztecs were like, yo, what the fuck is all this? This is cool. And it also became the model with how they built their own cities.
That's the same concept of the Egyptians, because it's like everybody thinks like the pyramids are like the ancient Egyptians. It's like, actually no, there's an ancient civilization before the Egyptians. Because when the Egyptians came there, that was already a relic.
And they said the Sphinx is older than the pyramids too.
And they're saying that when you go to every spot in the world that has like pyramids or structures that are like how did this get here? What is this? They always have a story about, like you said, like indigenous people that live there, brought it up, smashed, they died, whether it's natural resources or infighting, and then another civilization has come by and they built on that. So it's like Indonesia has their own version. UK has their own version. Like everywhere across the world, they have their own like crazy technology that they just can't figure out. So it's just like the human experience all across the world. Like Graham Hancock has a really good show on Netflix where he does that, where they go from all over the country, all over the world, and they look for these sites.
Is that Ancient Aliens?
No, that's the Giorgio Tsoukalos.
The pyramid you went to.
Rob Schneider.
Was there was the unique thing? I forgot one of them. It was like if you stood somewhere, sunlight flashes a certain way, or is it like a sound or echo?
Yeah. So the echo, that was one of them where they built their pyramids, and their pyramids are temples, because I didn't know that. They're either temples or they're catacombs from like that era or
That's
whatever.
what they think they are.
That's what they're saying. So like, but basically,
I went to the same one.
yeah, you probably went to the same one.
When you go like this, it goes.
And it's for this bird that I forgot. They're in Guatemala now. I forgot. It's the blue coexcital or something like that.
Yeah.
Those blue birds.
Blue doyers.
Yeah, the blue doyers. They would take their feathers and then they would make their headdresses out of them. So like all the warriors would wear them and all that. But they would they figured out a way to position each temple and to have the acoustics the right way where they could clap and it makes the sound of the bird from that temple, and then the birds would come to those areas and they would capture and take the feathers. Like, this is what they came
It's a
up
farm.
Exactly.
It's a farm.
And then they found a way to position everything where if somebody was standing in the center of like I guess like the town hall, which is just a giant square, everyone's on their temples from all across, so it's giant. So that person standing in the middle could talk at like regular voice and everybody could hear it, and they did the experiment for us. And you're seeing all the tour guides do it with like their groups,
because it's all vibration.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just talking normally, and you could hear it like she's standing right next to you, and it just doesn't make sense.
The amount of physics they must have known to create that is
Dude, that's probably like when you hear a ghost. That's probably what it is. It's just acoustics.
It could be from a different part of the fucking room, right? Like, you really don't know. But
that was the first sphere.
They designed all that, and then you're like, what is going on? Like, how did they come up with this? So it could really just be that like these humans were just way more advanced.
And then they even knew that, like, depending on what star equinox, when you look at the stairs, a serpent comes up with the shadow. On the side of the stair, it turns into like that, yeah. But also, so all that shit was planned. I'm like, how do you plan for something so massive, but then you're like, also, you don't fuck it up?
Yeah.
Because they probably used the stars to like map things out.
But they also said like the way the tour guide was explaining this to us is like, this pyramid over here was the first one. We know this because it was all fucked up. They built it, and then like half of it was fucked up. But then their second pyramid that they built is just way sicker. It's way cooler, you know. So it's like, yeah, you hear that, and then they can point out specifically. You can tell by this rock formation why this is all fucked up over here. Like they messed up. But over here it's wider, better. So it was pretty cool to see all that go down. But then you realize you're like, if I had to build a fucking pyramid, I don't think we could do this at all. At the same time, you do hear like their logic of how they built certain things. They're like, we're gonna build this pyramid because that mountain back there looks like that. Like, we're gonna build it just like that. Okay, cool. And they just built it like that. So
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you think they all got like risen right now, and then we was like, hey, you guys did some sick stuff. Check out our Burj Khalifa. You know what I mean?
They would have been like, that's crazy.
Is that the Tower of Babylon? Like that's pretty high up there. You know, like they got to see some wondrous things today too, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm fairly impressed with the things that we've been able to.
oh, we smoked them, dude. We smoked
It just depends on like the function. So like if the pyramids were like truly created for like limitless energy for the entire planet, then yeah, I mean a giant shopping mall is like different.
But they don't. Yeah, they don't. Like if those native folks were to see like a carousel with like all those horses and stuff, they'd be like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
That would be crazy. They'd be like, this song sucks.
In a mall? That's what they'd be thinking.
I do kind of subscribe to the idea of like ancient civilizations that like rose and fall, and then like the most predated ones that we understand or have proof of that we can actually like bring some sort of logic to are just the most recent of the ancient civilizations that just existed.
Yeah.
Because like when we think of like the Roman or Ottoman Empire or anything like that, and see remnants of like, you know, this is our kind of most ancient gangster civilization. They were doing things that like bewilder our understanding of the world today, right? With it, whether it be like water, you know, fucking ducks and gladiator forums and governance and like different things that like really shaped who we are today, and now we're building off of that. It's like, where'd their inspiration come from? Well, like what did they potentially discover that like helped them lead to like what they became?
So something crazy must have also existed before them that inspired them.
Very possible, because if you're saying that like the ancient our like ancient understanding of Egyptians came in the pyramids and the Sphinx was already there, so that they had some form of like deity that like they were building their like purpose and reasoning to continue building greater things with. Like there's gotta be, how far back can that go?
Atlantis. Because
Atlanteans.
Was it Plato or Aristotle? No, one of those guys. He went to Egypt, and that's how he found out about Atlantis. Because that's Egyptians were like, we're actually not from here. Like we're from Atlantia, and then that's our history.
Yep.
And then that's when he went back to Greece, and then I don't think he even wrote about it. He told the story, and one of his like minions wrote about it.
Did he talk about Hermes Trismegistus? You know what I'm talking about? Damn. Never mind.
What is that? Huh? Is that a Krispy Kreme?
It's a mythological figure of a being or a man that is basically what is it called? The representation of wisdom, like complete wisdom of like the Atlanteans, the Egyptians, like knowing everything about like God and everything. It's like this one dude.
He's
And
also
that's
a
his name.
bag maker. Hermes?
Hermes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, look it up, look it up.
That's where they got
Fine
it from.
handbags.
He also has wings on his feet.
That him? Same one? That's Achilles, no? Oh,
Wings, bro. He's the messenger guy.
on the feet?
Hermes.
Tripping.
That was Twitter.
Didn't Achilles didn't he have feathers on his?
That whole thing is like a rabbit hole if you guys look that up. Hermeticism.
Hermeticism.
It's
He's the
based
cloud,
off of
dude.
Yeah. Like he's the god of wisdom or the figure that
It does blow my mind though, because like if you think about the ancient religions that's like surviving now, it's like Hinduism, like all the old school shit, like Sumerian. That's like one of the first civilizations that we can kind of like identify as the first one to have writing and all that. But even their religion's pretty wild. Their religion is like, yeah, there were aliens and they came down and they didn't want to work, so they engineered us.
Yeah, they like
made us.
biohacked us
Yeah,
into like
and then
slaves.
we're just the slaves now that mine gold for them.
But then some of them fell in love with us.
Oh, and we became Asians. The aliens and humans.
Okay.
We're
Ancient Asians.
yeah, no, isn't that was a theory? Because like, why do Asian people they're so?
Why do they
different?
look like fucking aliens?
Yeah,
We do look like aliens.
You think we look like aliens?
Look, you can.
So you think aliens look closer to Asians?
for sure.
Yeah, look at a gray alien and an Asian,
for
dude.
sure. Because it's like slanty almond eyes.
Oh.
Slanty, is that a thing?
Yeah, and they have like weird big old heads.
We are good at math too.
You know what's a crazy concept? Let's say, and this is obviously why people fear and hate this motherfucker as well. Like, think about like if Elon gets us to Mars, right? our first like 100 years of like trying to colonize that planet, like sure, but like 500 to 1,000 years from now, when people like the dust of our bones have flown away, he's just gonna be like that planet's deity. Like what's the difference between
Yeah.
you know, like what was Caesar to people at a time, or when Jesus was walking the earth, like it's
You think Elon's gonna be that guy?
if he gets us to Mars and the Mars colony is like 100 or 200 or 300 years
think
old,
they're gonna all
and the
be
whole
hailing
reason why that our species exists on that entire planet, and somebody grows up and they're like, this is their whole world. They don't even like Earth is a myth.
Yeah.
Earth to them is like the pyramids and like the questions that we don't understand. We're like, they had water.
They had pornography.
You could
That was their biggest export.
imagine being like, wait, like you could just see water as far as the eye could see, and you could like
that's
jump
true.
in it and submerge yourself. That shit would blow people's minds.
Yeah.
On
You know
Mars.
that there's a belief
really true.
of
Very true.
humans actually came from Mars and not from Earth, because our circadian rhythm and internal clock works with that cycle, that lunar, that
Whoa.
that.
What's the cycle? Is it like
We don't
times-
operate like on a 24-hour.
That's why we got daylight savings.
That's why.
But whatever their like thing operates on, because you know they're bigger and all that stuff, that's our internal clock. There's those remote viewers that basically was like transporting their mind into thinking like, oh, in Mars, we were human, we were there. What do you say?
This says, ChatGPT, on Mars, a day called a sol is about 24 hours and 39 minutes long, which is a challenge for humans whose circadian rhythms are naturally aligned with the 24-hour Earth day, but we don't have to believe it.
Or
ChatGPT's
maybe we
bullshit.
grew accustomed to it.
Yeah.
But maybe we're meant to be 24 hours.
30-minute difference, not bad.
That's not bad at all.
We could swing that, bro.
Because after 100 years, what is? Oh, you can't. The math's too crazy.
Yes, our circadian rhythm is primarily influenced by the 24-hour cycle of light and darkness on Earth. Doesn't mean that we didn't come from Mars and adapt to it.
But the remote viewer, when he was asked to go back, he didn't even know that he was remote viewing Mars, but he told all the stories about the dying planet. They had to go.
They said there's hella water there back then.
They found pyramids on Mars.
They have,
it's funny you
they
bring
have a
up
bunch of
remote
ice
viewers.
caps.
Wait, they found pyramids on Mars?
There's full oceans on Mars, apparently.
Really?
They're just covered in the red dust. But they're like frozen, locked ice capsules,
Yeah.
like underneath like a certain surface.
Do you think it's ever gonna unfrozen?
No, because the planet died.
some rocks over
The story is that
There's some contrabreads over there.
the story is that the Earth was still like a young planet, and then Mars was a thriving one, and then when Mars was a dying planet, it was ready to like go. They had to send people out of Mars to look for places, and Earth was like the best. And as they got the Earth ready, the people that were waiting in Mars, they died.
Wow.
So why are we trying to go back to Mars?
Cause Elon's stupid.
That's crazy.
Because Elon's stupid.